Thank you. Hello everybody, my name is Pia Mölsä and I come from Inclusion Finland, KVTL or something. It's the Finnish versions. The name is Kehitysvammaisten Tukiliitto, which is the KVTL part of it. First I want to thank you, Tea, Marika, Päivi and all the rest of the organization team for the invitation to this event. First, about a couple of words about Inclusion Finland. It's an NGO which is established in 1961, and we are a human rights organization. I think the biggest in Finland with civic organization background, focusing just in intellectual disabilities. Okay, a couple of words about the background. Of course, we have heard about it today, so I'm going to be brief with this. There's the CRPD, there's the new Disability Services Act we heard about a couple of minutes ago. There's the self-determination things, and there's the biggest things from my point of view, the attitudes towards decisions that are made by people with intellectual disabilities. I know that the situation in countries are very versatile, and when you speak about supported decision making, and I think the supported decision making is understood very differently from one country to another. I think that we in Finland have been thinking this theme firstly from law and service perspectives, and after that from the perspective of people with supporting needs. Today I'm gonna speak little bit about practical things. We have the new law and the new service, and we have a bigger amount of decisions that are made in other services and in everyday life. And I think that both of these, the service and the everyday life decisions should have the same quality of support. So no, like just you said about the service, the same things should be part of the everyday life support. The hardest thing to alter is the attitudes towards the fact that people with disabilities should make their own decisions for themselves and should be part of the communities and decide things that are common to all members of communities. There are people with intellectual disabilities which don't need support. They don't need. Or needs for support are for a small number of decisions. There is also people who know exactly what they want. But his or her close ones or the employees don't take the decision seriously. The next slide is Me Itse organization's commitment that they did last year about self-determination and support for decision making, and this is what they said. I'm not going to read it now, but it says that people with intellectual disabilities themselves want to notice that they want support, not just substituted decision making. That is the main goal and main thing in this commitment. So I said a couple of minutes ago that a bigger amount of decisions are made in everyday life and part of other services than the new supported decision-making service that is what Ruth a couple of minutes ago said. With this slide, I want you to notice that the amount of decisions are different when speaking of these two kind of things. And then I also said that attitudes, process, supporters, principles should be the same when speaking of the everyday life support and the new service. But the supporters are more precisely defined in the law, as Ruth said. Attitudes should change now. The goal is that people make their own decisions. The decisions are real, and the decisions should not be doubted. I have heard several times, is the decision real when it's made by a person with disability and who needed support for it? That's not okay. Encountering people and doing social work is going to be easier if you know what the people do want or need or etc. And that is what is going to change when we really support decision making. We have changed the laws. We have the CRPD, which we are very, I like it. But the most difficult thing to change is the attitudes towards people with intellectual disabilities and the decisions they make. Somebody always knows better what kind of decision you should make, or you could do, or you will do. Very easily, the methods of supports are substituted decision making, even if they say it is supported decision making. Somebody asks for your opinion, but decides over you and makes the decisions based on your best interest, not the things you really need or want. I think that Ruth showed these. No, this one first. This slide is based on my master's thesis. I made a literature review on supported decision making and supporting decision making, and I want to show you this because the process of supporting is very. It's a thing you should know because it's versatile, it's flexible, it's time-consuming, it needs time, it needs resources, and even difficult when you're supporting someone in his or her decision-making. The supporter helps the person understand the decision and its consequences, as Ruth said, but it's not just communication or interaction. It is the communication and interaction are part of the process, but it's not just that. Because communication is just for expressing people's thought, but supporting decision making is a process that has many phases. Getting knowledge, implementing decisions, and etc. But the good execution, people's rights and autonomy will be realized. The process is always different. Here's just a diagram about what kind of phases does it have. Of course, there's people that don't need help for this step of the way or that step of the way, and there's people who need support for all these steps. I think you showed this one, so I'm going to skip it. But of course, there can be, in everyday life, there can be every kind of supporters, variety, friends, close ones, employees in other services, and etc. But the supporters should strive and have as little influence as possible and reflect the supporters' actions and influence on the supported person's decision before, during, and after supporting. Supporters told in my master's thesis articles that it's very easy to influence on the decisions, and according to the several articles in the masters, they really do. They really do influence on the decision. Anna is looking at the clock and I'm like, oh my God, this is so much to say. Okay, about the principles. Katja, who is in the hall here in Helsinki, and myself and a couple of our colleagues, we made these principles to like have some kind of toolkit with what you can think, how is the process, the supporting process, is it done in good quality? That was our aim. So we made these principles. These can be found in our website in English and in Finnish. And maybe if you need Swedish, you need to take the Google Translator and do something with it. But I'm going to show you the principles. So the main was that what are the aims? How can we think about the quality of the process and the supporting? Of course, the background of this is the CRPD. How can we make sure that the CRPD Convention of Rights can be part of the process? With these ones, we can really be in a good, well, it will, now I've lost my words, but let's see how it goes, the next things. But you can just read it out loud or just take a picture, because you can have a copy on your country. Please do. We have made a lot of work to do this.
Thank you, Pia. This looks really good.
I'm not going to talk about the new service because you just did, but what we know about how does it going to be implemented in Finland.
Can I ask you kindly to wrap it up?
Yes. This is my last one.
Yes.
I'm going to say about this, but the One Wellbeing Services County in Finland tried to include in its instructions for the service that people must have decision-making ability to get the service. Well, that's not okay, and it's against the act. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not sure if the instructions are going to be this way, but it's not okay. Maybe rehabilitation instructions is a group of employees that is going to get the support for the people. And you need to apply for the service, and then you receive a decision, are you going to get the service or not? Okay. And some well-being counties said that they're going to do the service themselves, not buying from NGOs, not buying from organizations or that kind of other communities or something. And here are the references. You can see my master's thesis there. You can see the principles in English and Finnish. And of course, we made a web course for supporters. You can take the Google Translator and just Google it.